show off our new diagonal dies with today's card. Isn't that gorgeous? They're so beautiful. And do you know, I really like the way a diagonal looks, but sometimes regular dies cut diagonally just don't work right. So these have been designed specifically to do that. So to introduce the dies and the stamps we're using in today's card, I have the Lavish Swirls, which is one of the diagonals. There are 3 in the new collection. This one goes this direction, and I have 2 others that turn and go the other way, so you have a little bit of versatility. I've got the open and closed camellias out of the Finishing Touches range, and we're going to do our floral element with these. And I just wanted to show this. The bold sentiment is what I've used on today's card. Now, if you notice that most of these are in a line, and what I've done on my card is I've actually cut it and made it into 2 lines. So it just is important to point out that even though these are unmounted stamps, you can mount them up and put them onto your acrylic blocks in any fashion that you want. So it works for whatever your card project needs. So let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and cut this Lavish roll. I've already stamped my sentiment up in the corner. I like to do that first so that I can stamp it and then make sure it's straight and I can trim it to fit that. So if I'm a little bit wonky, I've got some trim room there. Now, I'm going to kind of do a little bit of explanation about these dies. Here is your insert piece, and this will cut your design out. So you can cut it just out of the card, or you can use the edge to cut it completely away. Now, these have been made so that they're diagonally straight with each other, but there is no cut edge on either side of this, which is important because sometimes you don't want to cut it completely out. You just want to take a section out of your card, so you can do it that way. If you want to cut it completely out, you can use a paper cutter just to trim the ends or a pair of scissors. So we'll go ahead and put this onto our card, get it all lined up, and it's got a really nice angle here, so you know basically where it needs to sit. And I'm going to go ahead and use the outer edge here, and this is going off the paper, so I'm going to cut it completely into 2 pieces is what I will do. And my tape, let me just center this up, about like that. That looks good. And put that around it evenly. Keep that into place. There. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and use these little plates. Anytime you're cutting something that's long and thin, you want to put it so that it goes the lengthwise way on your boards too. So even though it's going to stick out a little bit, I'm not going to fuss about with it too much because I've got a little extra room on the sides here in the grand caliper. Just run this through. And I would recommend embossing this one because it's absolutely beautiful, but I'm not going to take the time because I've already got one done ahead of time. So you've got, like I said, 2 complete separate pieces now, which we will use. Untape this. You can reuse that tape. Okay. Put that back on there, and let me just take out some of these bits so you can see how pretty this is. A lot of times, if you want to use just a regular border to cut a diagonal in your card, they're not long enough either. So these have been designed so that you can cut long ones, or if you want to do a smaller card, there's a spot right there that'll go into your tinier cards, and you can use it just perfectly. So I've got a couple little bits here left in place, but you can see how pretty that is. There we go. Isn't that gorgeous? So we'll use that in a second. We'll come back to that. Okay. So I did this ahead of time. I've taken these 2 pieces and I've put a little bit of mounting foam on the back because I want to raise it up to make a channel for my diagonal there. So let's put these into place. In fact, tell you what, let's start with the bottom piece. We'll just line it out. I'm using a red background behind it, so that will show through our diagonal. Let's just get this lined up here as best we can. That looks pretty good. Okay, and just so I know about how much room I need, I'm just going to lay this into place like that. We'll glue it in officially, and we'll put the top piece above it. There we go. Oops. Pop that right into place about like that. Excuse me while I lean over just a tiny bit. Try and get that nice and straight. That'll work. Okay, so now I've created this diagonal channel in my card. So we're going to go ahead and put a little bit of the Cosmic Shimmer glue on the back of this. just give it a little bit of edge here so it'll grip and hit some of the little swirly pieces in the design so they'll stick down too. That should do a pretty good job. There we go. Okay. Carefully pop it back into our channel. You've got a couple of seconds to kind of move it around a little bit before the glue will set up. There we go. That's not too bad. So how pretty is that so far? Now for me, it needed a little bit of something extra to kind of make it really pop out. And one of the things I did was I included this little border strip with this set. And each of the diagonals have a little border strip. Now the thing to understand about these is it's cut a decorative design. I have not put a back cutting edge on that. And I did that on purpose because I decided that sometimes you need a bigger border if you want to use mounting foam on the back, and sometimes you want a little border. So you can just very easily use your paper cutter to give yourself whatever size border you want, or just line the die up with the side and leave that amount of border on it before you cut it. So I'm going to go ahead and pop this into place. And actually this one looks like it'll go right about there, and I apologize, I'm going to lean over just a little bit so I can see where that edge is. There. And I've done a second one here. Same thing, it's got just a little bit of a diagonal edge to it so you can make it meet up really nicely there. Okay, so how pretty does that look? Really makes that pop out, I think. But I'm going to go ahead and put it onto a base plate, because I just love the way that looks. You've got the piercing all around it and whatnot. We'll just use a little bit of glue. That'll save some time here. Pop that down in between our pierced border. And I've actually done several videos where I show how to do the piercing, so you can go back through our archive and find those. So now I've got the base of the card all completed, and it's really pretty like that, but I thought I'll just put a little bit of an extra floral element to that. So what I did was I went ahead and cut the open Camellia in white and the closed complete Camellia in black. I've glued them together, so I've got two pieces there. Using the Cosmic Shimmer lacquer, I'm just going to add a little bit to each thing. And before you use this, you want to make sure that first drop doesn't have a bubble in it. So let it go off onto a piece of scrap. Just fill this in. Now the interesting thing is when you use black card with this, don't let it fool you. It kind of will get a blue look to it to begin with. I have to laugh because the first time I did this, I almost threw the flower away and I thought, oh, just leave it. And then the next morning, I realized that it had gone back to being a really pretty shiny black and was absolutely gorgeous. So don't let that scare you if it starts to turn a little bit blue and your card's black. So you can just put that on there, and it acts as a little bit of a reservoir for those flowers. So I'll just go ahead and fill all these in. Now I do have a little bubble there, but you can take just a straight pin and pop that, not a problem. Or you can drag it up into the center, and when they're dry, I'm going to offset them so that won't show either. But you can see how pretty those will look. Now I've gone ahead and done one ahead of time, and I've layered up a smaller one in the middle, put a little teeny Black Dazzler in the center. It's just so pretty. So let's go ahead and finish that off. I've got some glue dots here. I've tied what I call a messy bow with our white seam binding. So I'm going to go ahead and seat that in the corner, right about there. And you can fluff your loops up on your bow if you like. And then I'm just going to take the flower, a couple of glue dots on the back, and seat that right into the center there. Oops, get my glue dot on my flower. There we go. And I think that finishes that off really nicely. So pretty and really clean and simple, but elegant. And I love the way those colors just pop. So. Hope you've enjoyed today's video, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.